No, probably don't have trouble blinking from Chwan. Ravage on 3, Shackle on 2. Why, a beautiful little Shackle from him, and that sets up a quick double kill. Guess the question, Demon starts it off with the Firefly blinks in, grabs K Phoenix, surprise!
Does get chucked up before he BKBs. FC overextending. Here comes the AoE, but he's already gone down N9 in a...
Will this be enough to bring Long DD down? He's so low. Maybe should have saved the Flame Breath. Don't know if that last auto attack would have hit. And Tiny kills him with the splash on kill.
And we'll get out. They haven't got sentries or dust. The clamp comes in. Maybe an Angus.
Oh!
Well played.
Oh, this is a beautiful thing to see. It's a base trade, and EG might be caught unawares. It's a time for a TP scroll check, and nobody has a TP on EG.
They haven't done enough damage to backdoor protection. They need
Unbelievable!
more geniuses.
Thousands of years of waiting, and yet no time to waste.
Welcome back, everybody. We are live, and it is time for a Southeast Asian showdown. Orange versus MUFC, and more specifically, GoDz, this is a Malaysian showdown, and I think you've been going around calling it a grudge match, so why don't you start this off by telling everyone why. Why is this a grudge match, GoDz?
The two teams, they have it out for each other. They want to get each other. They're actually quite good friends. They all know each other. They played with each other. I mean, Mushi used to play in MUFC. Yamateh's been, I believe, recruited as well for various tournaments. So it's just the two top teams in Malaysia. They've battled it out in the finals of pretty much every single Malaysian LAN tournament. Even in some sort of Southeast Asian LAN tournaments, often it's these two teams who, whenever they come head-to-head, it's a big rivalry. Both teams have had their share of success, so in some ways it's really just a two teams who know each other very well, and really this is a team that these two teams, they really want to beat each other. It's a lot of pride at stake for their country and just for their team and their organization.
And this is also a play-in match for the LAN finals. They've come a long way for MUFC. It's been a bit harder of a road. Even Orange struggled at times. In the group stages, we didn't see a totally dominant performance out of either of these teams. But GoDz, none of that matters right now. We're one match away. One of these teams is going to China. That's the good news for Malaysian Dota fans. You have a representative to the main event. North American Dota fans still got to see what happens with that last play-in match. But as we take a look at the brackets, Orange had a tough first-round match against IG, 2-0, and it felt like they could have won those games, but they just didn't know how to close the deal.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they had a fantastic start. It really goes to show the individual skill of their team, their players. Mushi. Yamateh didn't play amazing. He's a player who shines on the LAN setting, not so much in the online matches. But it was KYXY even not playing instead of iceiceice for those matches. He played it really well. Xtinct on his Chen was absolutely sensational in game number 1. It just wasn't quite enough. I think the late game decision making just wasn't up to par for what IG offered.
Yeah, I agree, and late game decision-making was what separated IG from Orange. Orange just making a few mistakes, seeming like they weren't all 100% on the same page, and to be fair, that was against IG. MUFC, certainly a stalwart opponent, but more on the level of Orange when it comes to their late game decision-making, and this is a match where we're going to see these two teams, in a lot of ways, they're very similar, right? Because we have Xtinct on one side, great jungle player, Ling on the other, also a fantastic jungle player. I'm personally a bit more in the Xtinct camp, but both these teams, they value their Chen. They generally favor similar solo heroes like Queen of Pain, like Templar Assassin. MUFC maybe a little bit more diversity, but in a lot of ways these teams are very similar. But as far as their overall approach goes, you actually think, well, their timings are quite different.
Yeah, MUFC are much more early. I'd say both teams really like to dominate the early game, but MUFC, it's in the laning stage right from the word go. They pick heroes which can have strong laning presence. They like their strong solo heroes. They're trialing. They get aggressive heroes like Lifesteal on a couple of occasions. They get their solid supports. They have solo heroes like Nature's Prophet who can go for those early ganks. I think they've done really well, winning quite a few games with Nature's Prophet. The game they won against ldD as well as against Flash Esports. Game number 2 was the hero they used. So they like to have heroes that can get involved, get kills early. Orange Esports, they don't really move around the map and gank as much. It's more about just having a strong solo hero on his own. Like they'll have Mushi with his Queen of Pain or Templar Assassin. It's less mobile early game ganking. Even when they get Xtinct on his Chen, it's more about farming up the Chen and pushing down towers later on. They never look to get the kills right off the bat.
And that's also how Orange wins games, is they generally win them a little bit later on, right? Mushi gets really fat, yamateh gets really big. Even in games where they're behind, when they come back and win, it's almost always, like 9 out of 10 times, it's on the back of one of those two players getting really farm. And even the support's getting quite a bit of farm. In that sense, I would say Orange somewhat reminiscent of the Chinese teams in their mid-game approach. They do prioritize farming everyone up quite a bit, not just the carries, although they usually pull very far ahead, but even players like Xtinct, as you mentioned, on the jungle Chen. So, with all that being said, gods, we have one other match coming up, EG versus LGD tomorrow, but this match, it's a best out of 3, and whoever wins, they go to China, and I'm actually curious, if either of these teams slips through, do you think they have a shot against DK?
I think both teams do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. Wouldn't have gotten this far in the tournament. Orange wouldn't have put up such a great fight against IG. I think both teams could go into that match with a serious shot. Yeah, it's got 2 weeks to prepare, 2 weeks to practice hard, and 2 weeks to study DK, study how DK like to play, what they like to pick. So I think you definitely have to say if they make it to China, they have a good chance of taking down DK. I think with the format though, you start off 1 match down in a best of 5. So DK start up 1-0 in a best of 5. It's slightly unusual format, but it's still winnable. I think both these teams have what it takes. They have great LAN experience as well. I mean, DK obviously probably more LAN experience than anyone in the world, but neither of these two teams really struggle on the big stage as well.
Apparently there's an earthquake at my house, which is just me having a lot of nervous energy and bouncing my legs up and down and hitting the table that my microphone is precariously placed upon, or my webcam. So no, guys, no earthquakes here, not yet. We already had Hurricane Sandy, so I think we're covered in the natural disaster department for a little while. Unless you're...
That's why, I don't know, expecting some rain in here. That's why we're wearing hats today. It's not just because it was Gabe's birthday that we're wearing hats.
Oh, I was gonna say, unless you think Obama's a terrorist. Because apparently he just won the election. I know there are some people who, Barack Hussein Obama. Too soon? Probably always too soon.
We've survived 4 years. I think we can survive another 4 years with him.
Yeah, well... On a more relevant note, I suppose. As far as these playoff brackets go, I gotta say, I agree with you to a certain extent. I feel like Orange would have a better shot once they get into the semifinals. And I think in some ways, MUFC, while they're very well equipped to deal with a team like Orange, their style not as likely to work against the Chinese team. So it could be one of these weird situations where MUFC might be the better team, they might be able to beat Orange, but I feel like they have less of a shot if it comes down to them playing DK.
Yeah, I think Orange are the slightly more veteran team and a team who, with some serious practice, can go far. They just need to make sure they're actually focusing on the right game, but they're a team who can probably do match up slightly better against DK. I think MUFC's real advantage going against Orange is just how well they know them. MUFC against the Chinese teams haven't fared as well as Orange have.
Yeah, I think that's an absolutely fair assessment. So with all that being said, I think it's time for us to dive into our key points for this match. As we look at the first team, we have MUFC and GoDz. Let's start with point number 1. It's the mighty jungle, not just for this team, also for Orange, but I'm going to say especially for MUFC because, like you said, they really do rely on more of that early game aggression. So cue up the Lion King music here.
Yeah, I was about to say, are you going to sing for us here, LD?
I could. I think we might lose about 1,000 viewers if I do. So.
As long as you foot the bill, I'm okay with that. But the jungle here is definitely key. Both with Xtinct and for MUFC, they've got Ling who plays it really well. Maybe less so with the Chen. They like to go with the Enigma as well. If MUFC can fit that in, if they spot Orange going for a suicide solo like a bounty hunter, they could send a strong dual lane and run the greedy Enigma jungle. I say greedy, but sometimes greed is good, and we'll see if it's something that maybe MUFC try and do here.
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree with you, and greed is going to be key in this matchup for both teams. Something that Orange really likes to do as well. We've seen them before, just prioritizing farm, getting items that help you farm better, not really going, or even going for damage items over things like BKB that help you to survive in fights. The element of surprise. This one, I think, could be pretty huge for MUFC. You talked about it a little bit. Actually, we were sort of batting it around. Is MUFC, they have a little bit of a more, I guess, diverse hero pool in some ways than Orange. For example, picking up a Lifestealer and having, not only that, but having Net play it, and Net almost always the support player for this team. So they can throw you curveballs, whereas with Orange, if they pick a Templar Assassin, you know it's Mushi playing it. So in that sense, it's pretty straightforward.
And I feel it's not just, you don't know who's going to be playing, and you also don't know what they're going to be picking. There's really no real signature heroes for these players. With Orange, it's a lot easier to focus in. Mushi with his Queen of Pain, his Templar Assassin. Yamateh, I mean, his signature heroes have sort of moved over to those carry roles because he's been playing heroes like Chaos Knight a bit more. With MUFC, we've been seeing Lycan picks, we've seen Slada, we've seen Lifestealers in the trial lane, we've seen Enigma jungles, we've seen solo mid Rubik, solo mid Templar Assassin. They really do do it all. There's no real limitations to their hero pool, I feel, and that's something which can give MUFC a big advantage if they come up with a strategy that they think can sort of take Orange by surprise.
Agreed. And the last point, it's all about the lanes, stupid. It really is in this match, though. We talked about it. Laning is crucial for both of these teams. You want to jump out to a quick start. MUFC, generally when they beat an Orange, they win their lanes early. The solo heroes get ahead and farm, maybe control the runes better. The junglers get the early towers, perhaps gank that suicide lane hero, whether it's a bounty hunter, a prophet, or whatever the case might be. They get ahead early, and then they roll from there. MUFC is not a team that we've really seen beat an Orange when they lose the early game, and so it is really all about the lanes for this squad.
Yeah, the last two times, ESWC qualifier finals as well as the Alienware online tournament, MUFC just got off to a fantastic start, and Orange could never get back into it. MUFC are good when they get that early game lead to fairly well maintain it, especially if they have some late game carry potentials. They run the Nature's Prophet as a bit of a farmer. It's going to come down to, like you say, the laning stage. It's very important here. Question is, what do Orange need to do, LD?
It's a great question, Gods. Thank you for that segue. For Orange, key point number 1. Delete Heroes of Newerth. This one, this
really,
I told Gods I was going to make this a key point, and it was a joke, but you know, and this sort of goes hand in hand with you have a BKB, you have a BKB, use it, and I bring this up because we saw the game Orange versus IG. I think everyone who watched that game, it sticks, it burns in their memory, it sticks in their craw. Mushi walking into the Roshan pit, had a BKB, I think it was Slardar in that game.
Yep.
And he didn't use it, and he got burst down from full HP to nothing. This could just be lag, it could just be a rare moment of pressing the wrong button, but guess what? If you're playing a lot of Heroes of Newerth, perhaps that's why you're pressing the wrong buttons. Perhaps that's why your team isn't quite performing as well as it could be. So mostly tongue-in-cheek, but it sort of goes back into this idea of if you play, even with the Chinese teams, you play Dota 1 and Dota 2, guess what? The players have all talked about it. It's a little bit hard to sort of get comfortable and get adjusted. And these are two games that are very, very similar. Heroes of Newerth has a much faster sort of feel to it and a lot of mechanics that are a bit different.
Yeah, and I think it also goes back to, I mean, it's somewhat of a side note. I mean, playing too greedy, I feel Orange is just trying to do it all. They see this big prize pool in Heroes of Newerth, like, oh, let's try compete there. Oh, let's keep competing in Dota 2. You can't do it all always, and I think that's something which could limit their ability to have properly prepared for this match. I mean, not just iceiceice playing Heroes of Newerth with his big smackdown with Team Impunity. It's also been xtinct and Mushi. They've also been playing a lot of Heroes of Newerth. Training for this, I believe it's some $300,000 prize pool tournament, which we shouldn't be promoting because this is a Dota 2 stream. This is the G1 league. We probably lost our job already, but Orange versus MUFC, this is, I mean, I feel that MUFC have slightly more momentum going into this match, even though theoretically Orange are the team who could go further should they win this.
Completely agreed. And, you know, this is obviously not going to help them now if they have been playing a lot of Heroes of Newerth, if they haven't been practicing Dota. I will say I've seen them logged into Dota 2 quite a bit, so I think there's a decent chance that they have been practicing, and from what Xtinct was telling me, Heroes of Newerth is more for fun. It's not really something they're taking seriously, but nonetheless, hopefully they put in their practice time, because MUFC is a team, we know they've been preparing very hard. That's how you do well with a team with 2 new players, whereas Orange a little bit more stable with the roster coming into this match. And our last key point, Gods, this is in Xtinct Chen we trust. Everyone talks about Mushi, everyone talks about Yamateh, but every time we watch this Xtinct Chen play, for me it is this team's defining hero, and it's the one that puts them in a position where they can be aggressive and get away with it, as well as get that early game advantage that lets them farm safely.
Yeah, it's a hero that does give Orange a lot of momentum, so I think if getting their hands on that could be very crucial for Orange, and that's something which MUFC may be looking to prepare for, may be looking to ban out. or they may just have a plan of going within something like an offensive trial. You see that Chen pick, they may look to offensive trial lane, punish the dual lane, because Chen can't really offer a whole lot right off the bat from level 1. So MUFC have to be ready for it. They have to have a plan in mind. xtinct, I mean, his Chen is very well renowned, and probably the best outside of China.
Agreed. It really is. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It's time. It's time. It is time for this all-Malaysian SmackDown.
Predictions. We got to do predictions, LD.
Okay.
Put the money on the line.
Okay.
I'm ready. I didn't have one yesterday, but I've got one now.
I'm saying 2-0 MUFC.
Well, that was going to be my prediction, so I feel like I have to change now.
I actually think Orange is going to win, but I just want to be different, so I'm going to say 2-0 MUFC.
I think MUFC 2-1. I think MUFC are going to win this, but I don't know. It's Orange, so you never really know. But I'm predicting MUFC as well. 2-0, maybe 2-1.
Agreed. Okay, let's roll with it, guys. When we come back, game number 1, MUFC versus Orange, will be underway. Don't you dare leave those seats.